You've probably seen this strange-looking mushroom popping up everywhere. It's called lion's mane, and it's getting a ton of attention, not just for its shaggy looks, but for what it might do for our bodies, and especially for our brains. So today, we're going to dig into the science behind it.
So let's just get right to it. The big question on everyone's mind is, can this shaggy fungus really live up to all the hype? Could it actually be a tool to boost your brain power? Well, that's exactly what we're here to find out, by looking at what the science actually says.
So what is this stuff, really? Well, its fancy scientific name is Hericium Erinaceus, but it's nothing new. For centuries, it's been a staple in countries like China, Japan, India, and Korea, used both in the kitchen and in traditional medicine. You might also hear it called hao-to-gu or yamabushi-take. All right, let's start with the part that gets everybody talking, the potential benefits for our mind and our nervous system. This is really where lion's mane has made a name for itself lately. So how is it supposed to work? Well, scientists have zoomed in on two really unique compounds inside lion's mane. They're called hericenones and erinacines. The big idea is that these compounds might actually encourage our brains to grow new cells. And if they can do that, they could be a powerful shield against the kind of damage that happens as we get older. And what does that mean in the real world? Well, the early research is pointing to some pretty incredible possibilities. We're talking about potentially helping to protect against dementia, maybe easing mild symptoms of anxiety and depression, and even possibly speeding up recovery from nerve damage. And if you want a concrete example, check this out. A 2020 study, a human study, looked at people with mild Alzheimer's. They took just 1 gram of lion's mane every day for almost a year. And get this, they showed significant improvements on cognitive tests compared to the folks taking a placebo. That is a really interesting finding.
But okay, the brain stuff is cool, but the story doesn't stop there. Research is starting to suggest that lion's mane might also support other really important parts of the body, like our heart and our gut.
Now, this is super important. What you're seeing here is all from animal studies. Okay? In rats that were fed a high-fat diet, lion's mane extract actually lowered their triglycerides by 27% and cut their weight gain by 42%. It also seems to help stop cholesterol from oxidizing, which is a bad thing for your arteries, and it might even slow down blood clotting. Again, really promising, but so far, this is in animals.
And then there's your gut. On the one hand, you've got lab studies showing it might stop the growth of that nasty H. pylori bacteria linked to ulcers. And then on the other hand, you've got an actual human study where a supplement with lion's mane helped people with ulcerative colitis feel better in just 3 weeks.
So we've talked about big organs like the brain and the heart. But let's zoom in even deeper, right down to the cellular level. Some research suggests lion's mane can act like a tiny shield for your cells, protecting them from some of the root causes of chronic disease.
And what does this little shield do? Well, again, in lab and animal studies, it's a powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. It seems to give a boost to the immune system right in the gut. It might help with blood sugar, and in test tubes, it's even been shown to make cancer cells die off faster.
And if you want to see just how powerful that can be, get this. In one study with mice that had colon cancer, giving them lion's mane extract cut the spread of cancer to their lungs by a whopping 69%. That is a huge number, though again, we have to remember this was in mice, not people. Okay, we've just gone through all this incredible, exciting potential. So now it is absolutely time for a big reality check. We have to separate the promise from the proof. And honestly, this chart says it all. The huge majority of research we have on lion's mane, it's from test tubes and animal studies. The kind of big, solid human trials we really need, they're still pretty rare. So what we have is a lot of exciting clues, but not a lot of solid human proof. At least, not yet. And this quote right here just hits the nail on the head. It basically says, look, while all this initial stuff is exciting, we really need more studies on actual people to know for sure what's going on. So after hearing all that, maybe you're thinking, okay, I'm curious, but how would I even take this stuff safely? That's a great question. Let's get into the practical side of things. You can actually find lion's mane in a bunch of different forms. There are capsules and tablets, which are super easy. You can get it as a powder to mix into your coffee or smoothie. You can even buy it fresh and cook with it. People say it has a seafood-like flavor, kind of like crab or lobster. And of course, there are tinctures too. All right, the big question, how much should you take? Well, that study on cognition we talked about, they used 1 gram per day. But, and I cannot stress this enough, that is not a recommendation. There is no official one-size-fits-all dose.
You absolutely have to talk to a doctor to figure out what amount, if any, makes sense for you and your health.
Now for the good news. Lion's mane seems to be incredibly safe. In the studies done on people so far, they haven't reported any negative side effects. The only real warning is for people who already know they're allergic or sensitive to mushrooms. If that's you, then yeah, you should definitely steer clear.
So after all that, let's circle all the way back to the beginning. Where do we land? Is this stuff really the miracle fungus for your brain that people make it out to be?
Okay, here's the bottom line. Lion's mane has a ton of exciting potential, no doubt about it, especially for brain health. But almost all of that research is still from the lab or from animals. It does seem to be very safe for most people, but the biggest takeaway here is that we're still in the early innings. We really need more human studies to confirm anything.
You know, the story of lion's mane is just such a cool example of an ancient remedy meeting modern science. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other natural secrets that have been used for centuries are just out there, waiting for science to catch up and unlock what they can really do?